Hello, good evening, everybody. Good evening. Hello. Good to see you. Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome in, welcome in. Hi, hello, Mary. Hello. I was not able to actually post before I came on tonight, but here I am nevertheless. So, hello. Second time today. Yes, my second time today, everyone. I do have comments on. I did have comments turned off earlier today, but I figured tonight people would probably want to chat with each other and say hello. I know it's been a wild day today. I know. I am feeling okay. I'm feeling okay so far, everybody. I am hoping to pick up and do another a continuation here of the transcripts. I'm really trying to make it through our prior witnesses because the last couple of days of testimony, everybody, yesterday and today, those transcripts are going to be pretty... They're going to be a lot. So I'm trying to get through kind of this foundational piece here with Mr. Pecker, and then I'll probably have to fast forward. Oh my goodness. There's quite a few pages. So I'm going to try to finish the direct examination tonight. And then I'll probably come on tomorrow for a little while, do the cross-examination of Mr. Pecker. And then I'd like to start picking up on the more... interesting testimony. Press on nails. Oh, good for you, Mary. Good for you. Oh, I love to hear it. That's wonderful. Yes, thanks for coming back. Yes. I apologize. I was out of town briefly, so I was not able to actually make a post about coming back. But I figured if I came on, that would be enough notice for everyone. I tried to make it around the same time. So now earlier today, everyone, for those of you who had not been able to join me earlier, I had kind of a lunchtime session here. We went just for an hour. I'll probably only be able to go for an hour again tonight, but we did an hour. I'm trying to make it through Mr. Pecker's testimony and the transcripts for the New York case because his testimony is just so important. It's really foundational for the case. So I was able to go through quite a bit of his testimony earlier today. So I do plan to pick up and go through his testimony more tonight. So I will probably only be going for about an hour tonight again, and then I will need to break, but I will be back. My goal is to really get through Mr. Pecker's testimony so we can start skipping through some of the other witnesses. The other witnesses, we just don't need the amount of details that I think, need from Mr. Pecker. So that's why I'm trying to make sure that I'm pretty thorough with this, even though I know it's been a few days. But again, I think reading this word for word really gives us some huge insight into what's really going on here. So I do have comments on tonight, so everyone can kind of chat with each other, although I probably won't be paying too close attention to the comments. I will leave it in the very capable hands of my moderators so that I can make sure to focus on the reading. I do want to just kind of read through this second piece and try to get a nice big chunk of it done tonight. So hopefully everyone can just hang out and enjoy the chat and hang out a little bit and keep it friendly as I go through the testimony. So, thank you so much. Yes, I think I'm not sure. This may be the last live with these particular nails. I'm not sure yet. I like to change them quite a bit. So I don't know. I might do one more. We'll see how it goes. So welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. For those of you just joining, this will be the second part of my reading for today. I did do the transcripts of day 7 for Mr. Pecker, his direct examination. I will hopefully be completing his direct examination here on the live tonight. He did have a cross-examination. He was the witness who has been on the stand the longest, so it is taking a little time to make it through his transcripts, but I'm really trying to focus heavy on the transcripts over the next few days to catch up on the other witnesses, as well as yesterday's testimony. I think is really important to go through Mr. Davidson, and then, oh my goodness, we've got some testimony from today. Those transcripts should be out soon as well. So I'd like to really pick up on those as well pretty soon, but I think it's important that we get Mr. Pecker's testimony in. He's the first witness and probably the most important witness. So I have been posting to my tube of you. I was posting Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week, but I'm trying to post now every day. So again, to try to catch up. These lives I put up on my tube of you, and I do not edit them. I just put them straight up on there so that you can see exactly the live from beginning to end. So you can hang out there too if you miss a part or if you're not sure. I'm a couple days behind where I'm at right now, but I have had, I've just been doing so many lives, I'm needing to keep posting. So I'm going as fast as I can, doing the best I can. So thank you, Dusty. I appreciate that. Invested in my nails. Oh, yes. Well, I think again this will be my last live with these nails, so I'll have to enjoy them while we can. Oh my goodness. All right, everyone. So let's pick up where we left off. And for anyone wondering, yes, this is my chopsticks pen. I felt like, it's Friday. Let's use the chopsticks pen. So this is the official transcript, that has been given to us. It's been made public by the New York courts. You can go online and find this yourself, nycourts.gov, and pull the file up yourself. So you can follow along at home if you're interested. I've got the page number at the upper right-hand corner of the transcript. I have marked out here that we are continuing on day 7. So I did go through a portion of this earlier today, and I will continue on with his direct examination tonight. So just so you know, I have color-coded everything. Anything in pink will be the court. Anything in blue will be the state. Anything in orange will be the defendant, and anything in green will be the witness speaking. All right, so that's kind of how I've broken this apart. So I'll give you a quick rundown of what we've gone through already earlier today. We had some brief housekeeping that went on in the transcripts, and then we went into the direct examination where Mr. Pecker was speaking about his first experience of having someone come and ask him to kind of get rid of those negative stories, and that was through Mr. Schwarzenegger and his situation when he was running for governor, and he realized that there were some campaign laws he had to be careful about, and also speaking a little bit about paying the doorman $30,000 and Ms. McDougall the $150,000, so that's been discussed to some point. We had a lot of detail about the money being transferred and the business practices that he went through, and so that takes us up to page where we left off, page 1156. So this is where I left off earlier today, everyone. Now, I will be skipping through the next few pages because this is just more of that technical discussion about wire transfer. So I will go forward a little bit here until the next big batch of his testimony. So for anyone interested, at the top of the page will be the person who is the witness and then what it is that's happening. So we have a direct examination done by the state's attorney, so Mr. Steinglass here. All right, so there we go. I will skip forward a few pages. I've taken a peek to see where the best spot is to pick up again. Again, I probably won't be keeping too close of an eye on the chat. I'll leave that to my moderators just so that I can focus on getting this information out to everybody. I do have chat turned on tonight, though, so everyone can kind of hang out and talk about the day and so on. So please be pleasant and not rude. If you could, that'd be great. My moderators are working hard, so again, I am leaving my chat on so that you can talk with each other, but I had turned my chat off earlier today, but I will go ahead and dive right in. We got you. You guys are so sweet. You're so sweet, the moderators. Oh, Deborah, you're so sweet. So again, just as a friendly reminder, I am going through tonight, day 7 of the trial. Here we are on day 11 today. So day 7, we're going back a little bit in time just to kind of catch up. So here we go. You got it, James. You know what I'm saying. So I'll go ahead and get started, everyone. And we will pick up here with the court. So I'll go ahead and get started, everyone. And we will pick up here with the court. The court went into recess briefly after the last discussion of some technical information, and then Judge Mershon brings the court back into session here, and so that's where I will start there. All right, the court. Okay, jurors, let's take our morning recess. We'll be back about 20 minutes or so. So recess was taken. The court officer, all rise, whereupon the jury exited the courtroom. And then, please be seated. Witness is excused. The court. So there are a couple of things we would like to go over. Let's take a short break. Let's come back in 5 or 10 minutes and then we can get started. Okay, thank you. Short recess is taken. The clerk. Continuing case on trial, People versus Donald J. Trump. All parties are present. All right, counsel, let's go over what the disputed issues are. Judge, would it be convenient for you if I handed you a binder that has all of the exhibits? Yes. Mr. Bove, you are good? You have one? Yes, I have one. Thank you. Also, Judge, before we get started, I know you suggested in an email that no further letters were necessary. We were about to hit send on our response letter to counsel's letter. I don't want the state of the record being that there is a written submission from defense and not from us. I wonder if you would let me pass this up. I don't care if it's publicly filed or not. You can hand it up. While I'm doing that, I will hand you a copy of the law cited therein that I'm going to refer to during this argument. Now, everyone, I'll pause here. If this was my Subscriber Sunday, which I will be having, I would go through and kind of break apart this legal argument. But because we're really kind of focusing here on the continuing testimony, I'm going to fast forward again to where we have our testimony starting with the direct examination. They do go through and discuss some more of those evidentiary issues, what's allowable, what's not allowable. So that's kind of what this discussion is when the jury is out. So I may actually review this particular piece on my subchat on Sunday, but for tonight, again, I do want to move forward so that we can get into testimony. So here we go. All rise. Thank you. Please be seated. Continuing case on trial, People versus Donald J. Trump. All parties are present. Jurors, thank you for your patience. Mr. Steinglass, thank you. And direct examination continues of Mr. Pecker. Hello again, Mr. Pecker. Hi. Before we move on, I want to ask you one more question. I'm going to ask you to put up, just for the witness and the attorneys and the judge, Exhibit 169. You testify, I believe it was yesterday, that at some point after the election, you released Dino Sujadin from the non-disclosure agreement that AMI had previously entered into with him. That's right. Do you remember what the date was that you released Dino Sujadin? It was December 2016. Do you remember the actual date? It was the first week. Take a look at the exhibit in front of you and see if that refreshes your recollection as to the date that Mr. Sujadin was released. December 9th is the date of the email. 2016? December 9th, 2016. Thank you. I want to now direct your attention to October of 2016. Did you come to learn about the video and audio recording of the then candidate Donald Trump that was released by Access Hollywood? Yes. Can you tell the jury what was the gist of the recording? Pausing for a moment, everyone. I will be careful with my language so as not to get any kind of warnings from the TikTok people. The gist of that recording was a conversation between Donald Trump and Billy Bush, who was an anchor for Access Hollywood, going on a bus to a set. And the comments from Mr. Trump was, quote, "You can grab a woman by the blah, blah, blah." And it was under comments. It was certain comments that were made. Was the tape released publicly? Yes. Do you recall what happened when the tape was released publicly? Yes, I do. It was very embarrassing, very damaging to the campaign. Do you remember the date on which the tape was released? I remember it was the first week of October of 2016. Okay, so you don't remember the actual date? It's okay if you don't. I remember the 6th or 7th of October? Of October. Okay. Did you recognize the voice doing most of the speaking on the Access Hollywood tape? Yes. Whose voice did you recognize it to be? Donald Trump. Shortly after the Access Hollywood tape was released, did you speak with Michael Cohen about Mr. Trump? Yes, I did. And can you tell the jury what was discussed during that conversation? On that conversation, Michael Cohen told me that the tape, the feedback from the Access Hollywood tape, it was very, very damaging to the campaign, and everyone was very concerned. The campaign was very concerned about what impact it would have. Did Michael Cohen ask you to do anything to help damage control? Specifically, I don't remember. Are you familiar with an online publication called Radar Online? Yes, that's our publication. And did you have any conversation with Michael Cohen about the Radar Online article? Yes, the Radar Online is a digital website. It was launched in the late 2000s, and American media acquired it during that period of time. And unbeknownst to me, Michael Cohen said that on the digital site there was a posting of Donald Trump being a Playboy man, and I should immediately take it down, that Mr. Trump was very upset. I said to Michael, I was unaware of this posting. I'm going to show you what's as evidence as People's 167. I will show everyone, actually. And I'm going to ask you if you recognize this email. Yes, I do. What is it? This is the email that after I spoke to Michael Cohen, I called up Dylan Howard and I asked him about the Playboy Man article on Donald Trump, and he discovered that this was posted prior to our position. I was also unaware of it. He would take it down immediately. So I said to him, do that, notify Michael, remove the article, and notify Michael Cohen. The email that he sent here is explaining it to Michael Cohen about the story. Okay, so this middle portion of the email that we have blown up, who sent this? Dylan Howard. And who was it sent to? To Michael Cohen. And is anyone CC'd? I was CC'd on it. Can you read the body of the email, please? It says, the only story that was posted in October of 2008 before AIM owned it, the old Radar magazine. The tape was not part of the story that existed online. I suggested it was lost during many of the site changes during the years. Nevertheless, I've deleted the story completely. It no longer exists. What did you understand Dylan Howard to mean when he said, I've deleted the story completely, it no longer exists? He was following my instructions to remove the posting from the Radar digital site. And let me just show you the bottom portion of this email for a moment. Is this where it says Donald Trump Playboy Man? Is that the posting that you understand Dylan Howard to be in the process of removing? Yes. What is the date on that Playboy Man article? Sorry, go back to the bottom portion of that for a moment. Yes. What is the date on the original article that was being removed? October 27th of 2008. Thank you. And now I would like to blow up the top portion of this email. Was this email also sent to anyone else? Yes. I should say this email chain? Yes. To whom was it sent? It was sent to Hope Hicks. When was that? October 8th of 2016 at 8 p.m. Thank you. By the way, Mr. Pecker, in all of the years that you've known Mr. Trump, have you ever known him to use email himself? No. Have you ever communicated with him by email? Never. How did you communicate with him? By phone, mostly by office phone. Who did you go through when you communicated by office phone? I went through his administrative assistant, Ronat Graf. Okay. Mr. Pecker, do you know someone named Stephanie Clifford? Yes. Do you know her by any other name? Stormy Daniels. Who is Stormy Daniels? Stormy Daniels is or was a porn star. Have you ever met her in person? No, I never did. Let me ask you in a different way. Sure. Did you communicate directly with Miss Daniels ever? I never did. How did you come to learn of her in connection with this case? I was having dinner with my wife and I received an urgent call from Dylan Howard, so I walked out. Of the restaurant and I took the call, and Dylan said that he received a call from his two best sources, Keith Davidson, who we know is the attorney for Karen McDougal, and this other source, Gina Rodriguez, who's the agent for those type of celebrities. He said that she, being Stormy Daniels, is trying to sell a story that she had a relationship with Donald Trump, and Dylan can acquire the story for $120,000 from Keith Davidson if we make the decision right now. Do you remember what night it was? You said you were having dinner. Yes. Do you remember what night it was? I thought it was a Saturday night. I know it was the first week of October. You think it was Saturday night before or after the Access Hollywood tape came out? This would have been after the Access Hollywood came out. If I pull up a calendar on my phone from October of 2016, would that refresh your recollection as to the date it was? Yes. Does this refresh your recollection as to the date of the Saturday night that you had your dinner interrupted by Dylan Howard? That would have been Saturday, October 8th. Thank you. I will take it back. I object. Technically, that answer is non-responsive. The question is, does that refresh your recollection? I will allow it. Now, after your initial conversation with Dylan Howard, did you have a series of texts back and forth with him? Yes, I did. I'm showing you what's in evidence as People's 174A, and as we're pulling it up, we can show it to everyone, please. I'm going to ask if this is a record of text between you and Dylan Howard from October and November of 2016. That's correct. And I'm going to ask that you blow up the last column or the lines marked 47,260 through 265. Are you able to read that, Mr. Pecker? Yes, I am. My first question is, what is the date and timestamp on the first text? It's 2016, October 9th. The time is UTC time, so it would be, I remember it's about 10 o'clock at night. I'm not sure how you calculate that. Let's see if we can work it together. Now, this is the part where I will skip through their discussion of UTC time. All right, so here we go. We'll fast forward a little bit. Who is this text from? Dylan Howard. And who is the text to? It was to me. Quote, woman wants $120,000, has offers from the Mail and GMA. Want her to talk and do lie detector live. I know the denials were made in the past, but this story is true. I can lock it on publication now to shut down the media chatter, and we can access next steps thereafter, okay? End quote. What did understand that text to mean in general? That American media should buy the story for $120,000. Who did you understand the woman to be referring to? Based on the conversation I had over the phone with Dylan Howard, I knew it was Stormy Daniels. And how did you respond to him in the next text? I guess I should clarify. I said we can't pay $120,000. Is that the second entry, a response from you to Dylan Howard? I should have clarified that first. Yes, when I spoke to him over the phone, I would like to add more to this. Please. When he called me, he mentioned about the story other than not paying $120,000. I said, I don't want the National Enquirer to be associated with a porn star. I said that our largest distributor, our largest retailer, Walmart, this would be very bad for the magazine, very damaging for American media. I don't want any affiliation with it at all. To call Michael Cohen. Well, withdrawn. So you told Dylan Howard that we can't pay $120,000. Is that right? That's correct. Why did you say that? I said we already paid $30,000 to the doorman. We paid $150,000 to Karen McDougal, and I'm not a bank. I am not paying out any further disbursements among us. How, if at all, did Dylan Howard respond? He said, okay, they need to handle it. Perhaps I should call Michael and advise him that he could take care of it from there and handle it. Who did you understand they to be referring to? Michael Cohen and Donald Trump. And how did you respond to this? I said, yes, a good idea. Who did you think it was a good idea to kick this to Michael Cohen? I thought the story, the way Dylan described it, it could be very damaging. I thought it should come off the market. If anyone was going to buy it, I thought Michael Cohen and Donald Trump should buy it. To be clear here, Mr. Pecker, Mr. Howard came to you, Dylan Howard came to you after having been contacted by his sources, Keith Davidson and Gina Rodriguez. That's right. Objection. Sustained. How did you first learn of Stormy Daniels in this context? From Dylan Howard. And what did he tell you about where this information was coming from? He said to me that it came from his two top sources, Keith Davidson and Gina Rodriguez, and that they had reached out to him, to Dylan Howard. Objection. Did they reach out? Was it your understanding from speaking to Dylan Howard that they had reached out to Dylan Howard? Yes. Okay. What was the next text in the exchange? First of all, who sent it? To whom? Dylan Howard sent the text to me, and he said the following. I spoke to MC. I spoke to Michael Cohen. All sorted, now removed. No fingerprints. We'll recap with you face to face. So did you understand MC to be Michael Cohen? I think you told us. Yes, that's correct. What did you understand Dylan Dylan Howard to be communicating to you when he said all sorted, no fingerprints. That American media would have no association with the story. There would be no conversations, no paperwork, and he would not be involved in enabling the story to be purchased other than handing it to Michael Cohen. And no fingerprints. There was no paper trail. And how did you respond to that? I said to him, great work. I'm sorry to ask you this. What does thanks, THX, mean? I am thanks. Around this time in October 2016, did you also have any conversations with Michael Cohen about Stormy Daniels? Yes, also a number of conversations. Can you tell the jury about some of those conversations? Michael Cohen asked me to pay for the story, to purchase it. I said, I'm not purchasing this story. I'm not going to be involved with a porn star. And I am not, which I immediately said, a bank. After paying out the doorman and paying out Karen McDougal, we're not paying any more monies. And did Michael Cohen take that? He was upset. He said that the boss would be furious at me and that I should go forward in purchasing it. I said, I'm not going forward in purchasing it. I'm not doing it, period. Do you know whether Michael Cohen was also speaking with Dylan Howard around this time? I found out after that he was speaking with Dylan Howard, which I was not pleased about. Why? Because it was my understanding what I instructed Dylan Howard to do is to stay out of it, out of the story, out of all the selling process. How did you come to learn Dylan Howard did not, in fact, follow those orders? Dylan came to my office towards the end of October and said that there was an agreement between Keith Davidson and Michael Cohen. It was for $120,000, and Michael Cohen was supposed to wire the funds to Keith Davidson twice, and he never did. Dylan was upset. He was very agitated and said that Michael Cohen's going to make him look very bad with his two top sources. And he said, you understand when you renege on a source, what the impact will be. So he asked me if I could get Michael Cohen on the phone. I set up a signal call with Michael Cohen. So it was Michael Cohen, myself, and Dylan Howard. Dylan Howard was very aggressive with Michael Cohen on the phone for not paying. Michael Cohen said that I should pay, and he said, David, you should pay. I said, I'm not paying for this story. I didn't want to be involved in this in the beginning. I said, I'm not doing it. I said, Michael, my suggestion to you, you should buy the story and you should take it off the market because if you don't and it gets out, I believe the boss will be very angry with you. Do you remember when that phone call took place? I think it was like October 20th, towards the end of October. Can we show the witness privately 302A, page 23? In front of me. Is this the record of the interview between yourself and the FBI? Yes, it is. Does it refresh your recollection as to the date that your three-way call with Michael Cohen and Dylan Howard took place? No, I don't think it does. Does it? There is no date. 302B, page 5. You said you used the Signal app to make this call. That's correct. Why did you use the Signal app? Michael Cohen requested that every time we have a conversation that I should use the Signal app. And the way he explained it to me, the call is deleted after a period of time and it's encrypted and there are no messages. So I'm showing you another document. Do you recognize this document to be another record of the interview with you with the FBI? Yes. Do you know roughly what month and year that interview was conducted? When the interview was conducted? When the interview was conducted. August of 2018. Does that refresh your recollection as to the three-way conversation that took place between yourself, Michael Cohen, and Dylan Howard? Yes, it's around the 30th of October, 2016. Okay, and I will ask you to keep reading. Take a look at that second paragraph in particular and see what it does or does not. Does that refresh your recollection with a little bit more precision on the date? Yes, I remember. I said October 20th. I remember it was the end of October. Yes, that's correct. October 25th. Does that reflect your recollection that the call took place on October 25th? Yes. I want to fast forward. Did there come a time around the same time when you got a call from Keith Schiller regarding a belief that Karen McDougal was going on ABC News? Yes. Remind us of Keith Schiller, who Keith Schiller is. Keith Schiller is Donald Trump's bodyguard. And what did Keith Schiller tell you? Objection. Overruled. Go ahead. Keith said that the boss heard that Karen was speaking to ABC News. How, if in any way, did you respond? And I said, let me get back to you. I've not heard that at all. Let me get back and check it out. And I called Dylan Howard and I asked Dylan. And Dylan called up Keith Davidson and Keith Davidson told Dylan that it's not true. And I called back Keith and told him that it's not true. Was it not true? Dylan called me to tell me that he verified that Karen McDougal is not speaking to ABC. I called back Keith Schiller and I asked him to relay that to the boss. What he heard is not true. And what, if anything, did Keith Schiller say in response? He responded back. He said the boss was very pleased. All right, so directing your attention to November. Objection. Move to strike that last answer. Sustained. What is the last question? Directing your attention to November 4th of 2016. Did you become aware that the Wall Street Journal published an article that day revealing aspects of Carol McDougal's story? Yes. How did you become aware of that? Our communication director from American Media received a number of calls from the Wall Street Journal and had a series of questions about Karen McDougal's agreement. The American Media purchased her story on her relationship with Donald Trump, and they also questioned my relationship with Donald Trump. I'm going to show just the witness and the parties. Please, Court Exhibit 180. I will ask you to take a look at the exhibit. Do you recognize it? Yes, I do. What is it? This is the Wall Street Journal article that was published on November 4th. The one you just mentioned that referred to Karen McDougal's story, referring to the Karen McDougal story, I offered into evidence. No objection, subject to the limiting instruction. Again, jurors, it's not being admitted for the truth of the matters asserted, simply that it was proof that it was published on that date. If I could publish it to everyone now, I'm going to ask you, Mr. Pecker, did the article reveal the fact that AMI had paid McDougal the rights to the story about the affair with Mr. Donald Trump? Yes. And did this article appear before or after the election? This article appeared before the election. Do you know what day election day was in 2016? November 8th. Did there come a time after this article came out that you spoke to then candidate Trump? Yes. When was that? November 5th. November 5th of 2016? It was the following day, November 5th, 2016. And that's 3 days before Election Day? Yes. How did this call happen? I received first a text from Michael Cohen saying that the boss wants to speak to me. Then Donald Trump called me. It was a Saturday. I was home. Donald Trump was very upset, saying, how could this happen? I thought you had this under control. Either you or one of your people have leaked the story. So I said, Donald, there's no way on earth I would leak the story. And we being American Media, had the agreement only between a couple of people. So there's no way we would have given this information or the information to the Wall Street Journal. I said the only other individual that had the agreement was Karen McDougal. So Karen McDougal or her people or someone from her staff or herself gave it to the Wall Street Journal, not us. I don't believe that Donald Trump believed it over the phone. He was very agitated. He couldn't understand how this could happen. Our call ended very abruptly. What do you mean when you say the call ended abruptly? He didn't say goodbye, which was very unusual. And then next we have a court reporter being relieved and a new court reporter coming in. Now, around the time of the Wall Street Journal article on November 4th, did a Wall Street Journal reporter contact AMI for comment? Yes, they did. And did AMI put out a statement claiming that, quote, AMI had not paid people to kill damaging stories about Mr. Trump? Yes, that was the statement that we issued. Was that the truth? No, it was not. Did AMI also claim that the payment to McDougal was not for her story, but rather for her columns and her exclusive life rights? That's correct. Was that true? No, it was not. Who authorized those statements? I did. Why did you authorize AMI to put out false statements about the true nature of the deal with Karen McDougal? I wanted to protect my company. I wanted to protect myself, and I wanted also to protect Donald Trump. I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 174 again. This can go to everybody. Does this exhibit contain text between you and Dylan Howard? Yes, it does. I'm specifically going to ask that you zoom in. Yes, for the record, text 289 through 294. What dates were those texts sent? They were sent November 5th of 2016. And who? I'm sorry, you already told us who the texts were with. So the first text, who was it from and who was it to? From Dylan Howard to me. And what is the body of the text? The body of the text is, quote, no change, she's still underground per Keith, end quote. What is your recollection of why you were having this exchange, if you have one? The Wall Street Journal article was published on November 4th. It received an enormous amount of press, and I was very concerned that if Karen was still going to comply with the agreement that we had, and I didn't know if she went off the reservation. So I asked Dylan to call Keith Davidson, and he came back with these comments that she's still underground. Karen was living in Arizona at the time, so he was saying she wasn't taking any calls. And how did withdrawn? The next text, who is the next text from? From Dylan Howard to me. Okay, what is the body of the next text? He's explained to me the conversation that he had with Keith Davidson, saying that he, quote, just spoke, that she's cool moving forward with the deal. What deal do you understand that to mean? That was my original question I asked to Dylan to determine whether she's still going to comply with the agreement. The confidentiality agreement? The confidentiality agreement. How did you respond to Dylan Howard when he told you that? Excellent news. Did you then send another text a little bit later? Yes. What is that text that you sent? I asked him, did they have any updates? What are you asking to be updated about? Hold on, everyone. I need just a minute for a tea break. I wanted to be updated about Karen McDougal since there was multiple press reports other than the Wall Street Journal. Just to be clear about that text, when you're asking for any updates, what was the date and time of that? That was November 6th. What was the time? That would have been in Eastern Time, New York time, so 9:35. Do you happen to know when daylight savings time ended in 2016? And again, they're having this discussion on exactly what time it is. I just cannot read this ongoing discussion they have. What was Dylan Howard's role at AMI? He was the content editor, so he was in charge of gathering the content. So let me grab, since you're asking, and I won't take too much time, everyone, but let me just grab his picture. Because we've spoken about him before. I just happen to have here, of course, everyone, is Miss McDougal, right? And then we have I think I had it. I may have pulled him. I pulled him last night, I remember. So let me just double check here. One moment. So he was the one that had gone out and spoke specifically with Miss McDougal, right, and gotten the story. He was the one that was in charge of pulling the content in. So that was his job. And I've got a picture. Just 1 second. Here it is. There we go. This fella right here. Nope, we got it. Should have only taken about 20 seconds. Thank you for the visuals. Absolutely, yes. So he's the former editor-in-chief for the Inquirer. He played a major role in all of this. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness, everybody. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, that's hilarious. Thank you for the fun hats. Oh my gosh. Yes, yeah. I mean, So he had told her that they weren't even going to run the story, and then they came back to try to clean it up later. So, yep. All right. Here we go. Let's dive back in, everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Your generosity. He does look like he's 13. He does. All right. So back in, there was no mention on cable news or broadcast about about the Karen McDougal story, and he's saying one day of discomfort that would be one day of a lot of bad press, and the press was just reporting campaign issues, not anything related to Karen McDougal. And how did you respond? Thank you. Thanks. After the Wall Street Journal article, did AMI also amend its agreement with Karen McDougal? Yes. In what way? We received a call from a different attorney representing Karen McDougal, and the attorney stated that Karen was getting a number of calls from the press to do various interviews, and she has been bombarded and would like to speak to the press. So, and the lawyer who was representing her said he wanted the confidentiality agreement amended, and she had the right to speak to the press without suffering any penalties. Did you, in fact, amend the agreement at some point? Yes, I did. Prior to doing that, did you speak about the idea of releasing or amending, the agreement that you had with Miss McDougal? Did you speak about that with Michael Cohen? Yes, I did. And what did he say about that? He said it was a very bad idea, that the boss would be very angry, that why did you pay her the $150,000? And he highly recommended that I didn't amend the agreement or allow her to speak to the press. Did you take that advice? No, I didn't. I'm now showing you what's in evidence already as People's Exhibit 157. We can show this to everyone. Do you recognize this document? Yes, I do. What is it? This is the amendment to the licensing agreement of Karen McDougal to allow her to speak to the press. Why did you want to allow Miss McDougal to speak to the press at this point? I felt that the Wall Street Journal article already set the stage and tone of what the story is, and I wanted to try and keep some form of control on it around the story, so it's not going to go any further than where it already was in the public marketplace. That was one. Two, I wanted to have a representative of the press, a PR representative for Karen, who reported to American media. So we would have some type of contact. And I felt that Karen, having somebody to speak to the press in her behalf with all of the calls she was getting, would make her feel more comfortable. And the press, so did you get a press consultant? Yes. For Karen McDougal? Yes. And that was the press consultant who reported to you? Yes. I want to turn to page 2 of this amendment. Is this the signature page? Yes, it is. Who signed on behalf of Karen McDougal? On the American media side? On Karen McDougal's side. Karen McDougal signed it on November 29th of 2016. And who signed it on behalf of American media? No response. Do you recognize that signature? Signature? I don't know if that's a signature. It could be two people. It's either Dylan Howard or Cam Stretcher. I believe it's Dylan Howard. All right. And what was the date that it was signed on behalf of American media? December 7th of 2016. So is it fair to say that by the time of this amendment, Mr. Trump had already been elected president? That's correct. Now, around that same time, and I'm talking November, December of 2016, did you meet with Michael Cohen in Trump Tower? Yes, I did. Can you tell the jury a little bit about that meeting? I had a meeting with Michael Cohen at his office at Trump Tower. He was still asking me about the boxes of National Enquirer information that I had brought up from our offices in Florida to New York. And I told him that I had an executive go through all the boxes, and the only information that's there are old articles on Donald Trump. Newspaper clippings. There was nothing damaging that he should be concerned about. And I am not going to allow Michael Cohen to go through these boxes. And we're arguing back and forth on that. And I told him, I'm not doing it. I said, and then Michael said to me, this was around November, December, the exact time, Michael said to me that he wasn't reimbursed for the monies that's owed to him on the Stormy Daniels payment was number one. Number two, he said that bonuses for the Trump organization are normally paid out around Christmas time, and he hasn't received his bonus. And he hasn't received his bonus. And he asked me if I would talk to the boss on his behalf to tell him everything that he did to try to help him get his bonus. Whoa. Whoa, I'm pausing for a moment, everybody. So wait a minute. So Michael Cohen asked Mr. Pecker to ask Mr. Trump to give Mr. Cohen his bonus? What the heck is that? Wow, everybody. Oh my gosh. All right. You did use a couple of pronouns at the end of that sentence. Sorry. You said try to help him get his bonus. Try to help who get his bonus? He asked me to speak to Donald Trump to help Michael Cohen get his bonus. I'm sorry to be so formal. You understand why. That's okay. I think you said one of the things Michael tells you is he hasn't been repaid in connection to the payments to Stormy Daniels. That's right. What did you understand that to mean? That Michael Cohen paid Stormy Daniels out of his own funds, which was the first time I had heard of that. I wasn't involved in that transaction, so I didn't know how it was paid. And what did you understand him to be complaining about? I understood he was complaining that he had not been repaid and withdrawn. I believe you told us earlier that you had been under the impression that this was going to be paid for by either Donald Trump or the Trump organization. Is that right? That's correct. So what happened? Withdrawn. Did there come a time when Donald Trump himself entered the room? Yes. While I was having a conversation with Michael Cohen, Donald Trump came into the room, and he and Michael Cohen said to Donald Trump that I'm talking to David about all the old Inquirer files. I went through them. I being Michael Cohen. I went through the files. We have nothing to be concerned about. And then I asked Mr. Trump, can I walk back to your office with you? I want to talk to you about a few things. And he said, fine, come with me. What happened then? When I go back to Mr. Trump's office, I said to him that Michael Cohen is very concerned about his bonus for this year. And I want you to know that he's very loyal, and I want you to know he's been working very hard. And from my perspective, and I believe he would throw himself under a bus for you. And he's saying that his bonus is really very important to him on the monies that he's going to receive. So Mr. Trump told me, he said, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, Michael Cohen has multiple apartments in my buildings. I think he's got about 12 apartments in my buildings. He owns 50 taxi medallions, which are worth $1 million a piece. He said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. Mr. Trump said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. Yes, that's correct. So I'm pausing, everyone. Hold on a minute. Did we just have a discussion where Mr. Trump said that Mr. Cohen does multiple apartments in his buildings, and so not to worry about the bonus? Yikes. This is all about the money, isn't it? This is all about, oh my gosh. So, all right. So if Trump had just paid and not been such a stingy person, then probably none of this would have happened. Is that what we're saying? All the times a statement's withdrawn, is that because of an objection? No. Usually if we start a sentence, we start a question, and we're not fully into the question or we need to restart it, we'll say withdrawn. And then that is literally to tell the court reporter that we're not asking that question anymore. So they don't need to go forward on the question. So I've known attorneys who say withdrawn or will say strike that interchangeably. I knew an attorney, every other sentence was strike that. So he would say, well, what's your name? Oh, strike that. Or where do you live? Strike that. And the court reporters are like, come on. No, it's just one of the things that we use when we're speaking, when we know we're being recorded by a court reporter. Yep. So he's just checking himself on his question. He's formulating his question, and then he's saying, no, I don't want to ask it that way. I want to ask it a different way. So that's how that goes. Yeah, it's all about the money. All right, here we go. Diving back in. I just needed a minute here to acknowledge, this is really, wow, everybody. Oh my gosh. All right, here we go. So, directing your attention to January 6th of 2017, did you attend another meeting that day at Trump Tower? Yes, I did. How did you come to be there? I received a call from Rona Graff saying to me that the president-elect would like to see you for a meeting. And what did you say? At Trump Tower? And I said, yes. And she gave me the date and time. Did you go? Yes, I went to Trump Tower. What happened when you got there? When I arrived at the building, I never saw any type of security like that in my lifetime, and I couldn't get close to the building. So as I was walking outside, Jared Kushner, who's Donald Trump's son-in-law, and at the time he was going to be an advisor to the administration, tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "I'll get you upstairs." And we walked and we went through the resident area of Trump Tower. We took the elevator to the resident to the 24th floor, if I recall correctly, and then we walked over to Trump's office. Just to be clear, this is at the time Mr. Trump was president-elect. That's correct, president-elect. This was early January 2016, 2017, 2017. So you said you went to Mr. Trump's office? Yes. Tell us about it. What happened when you got to Mr. Trump's office? There's a waiting room. So when I got to the waiting room, Keith Schiller was there. And Keith asked me, he said, "How's our girl?" Which he was referring to Karen McDougal. So I said, "She's cool. She's very quiet, no issues." And then he was commenting that he being Keith, was Schiller, was excited about going to, objection, judge, overruled. You can answer. He was excited about going to Washington. And then I was waiting in the waiting room, and I was waiting in the waiting room. And shortly after, Rona said, "The president would like to see you now." And I walked into President Trump's office. What was that like? On the day when I went there, when I walked into his office, around his desk, he had James Comey, Sean Spicer, Reince Priebus, and Michael Pompeo, and they were updating Mr. Trump on the Fort Lauderdale shooting. Are you referring to a shooting that had taken place in the Fort Lauderdale airport that day? Ooh, I need to be careful with my language, everybody. That's just come here. So I do need to watch my language here when I'm doing so I don't get any warnings. So yes, that's correct. What were they saying? They were around Mr. Trump's desk. I just walked in and they were giving him an update. They were finishing up their meeting. And then Mr. Trump introduced me to each of them, and then he said, "Here's David Pecker. He's the owner, the publisher of the National Enquirer, and he probably knows more than anyone else in this room," as a joke. Unfortunately, they didn't laugh, whereupon the jurors laughed. And then they left before him. They left, and Mr. Trump asked me to sit down to chat. And can you tell us about that chat, please? Yes, he asked me how I was doing, and I said, "I'm doing okay." And he asked me how Karen was doing. And I told him, he asked, "How's Karen doing? How's our girl? How's my girl doing? How's our girl doing?" He said. I said, she's writing her article. She's quiet, easy. Things are going fine. So he said, "I want to thank you for handling the McDougal situation." And then he also said, "I want to thank you for the doorman story, the doorman situation." And what did you understand Mr. Trump to be thinking? Thanking you regarding the Karen McDougal story and the doorman story. I felt that he was thanking me for buying them and for not publishing any of the stories and helping the way I did. And did he say why he was so appreciative? He said that the stories could be very embarrassing. What did you understand that to mean? I felt that it was going to be very embarrassing for him and his family and the campaign. Now, did he ever say anything to you that made you think that his concern about these stories getting out was for his family rather than his campaign? I thought it was for the campaign. Why do you say that? Every time the conversation that I had with Michael Cohen with respect to both of these stories, his family was never mentioned. And the conversations that I had directly with Mr. Trump, his family wasn't mentioned. So I made the assumption it was the concern was for the campaign and was withdrawn. Did there come a time when you perceived that Donald Trump's concern shifted in some way? No response. You don't know what I'm talking about? I don't know. Let me show you 302B, pages 6 and 7. Privately, please. I'm going to ask you, was this one of the interviews you did with the FBI? Yes. Take a look at page 6 at the bottom of page 6. Read it to yourself. Don't read it out loud. Read it to yourself. We'll show you at the bottom of the page. of page 7. And then I'll ask you a question again. Tell me when you're ready for the next page. Yes, I am. Ready for the next page? Okay, showing you page 7, whereupon another exhibit is shown to the exhibit on the screen and the witness reviews the exhibit. Nods. Does that refresh your recollection as to whether you believe Donald Trump's focus shifted at some point? Judge, I'm going to object. Please approach, whereupon the following proceedings were held at the sidebar. I'm just trying to limit the speaking objections. I understand. That's okay. The objection here, the proper way to refresh the recollection. Does that refresh your recollection? He looks at it. Does it? Yes or no? What's your recollection? That's not done. That was not done. I think it pretty much was done. Do it the right way, whereupon the following proceedings were held in open court. I'll pause for a moment and say defense counsel did not like the way the state had refreshed the recollection of the witness. The objection is noted. Okay, Mr. Pecker, did you read the document I asked you to look at? Yes, I did. Did that refresh your recollection to the question I was asking you? Yes. Can you please share with us that recollection? Oh, I'm sorry, that's funny. If you've been in court enough, you know how funny it is when opposing counsel's like, they didn't do it right. Anyway, all right, sorry. Prior to the election, if a negative story was coming out with respect to Donald Trump and we spoke about it, he was concerned about Melania Trump. He was concerned about Ivanka. He was concerned about what the family might hear or say about it, not saying whether it was true or not. After the campaign, when I was in his office and we were discussing this, he was concerned on the doorman story with respect to if the story came out, which wasn't true, about him having an illegitimate child, and I didn't hear discuss that it was. He was concerned that what would Melania say, or what would Ivanka say, or what would his family say. It was basically what would be the impact be to the campaign or the election. Was it true for your conversations with Donald Trump about the Karen McDougal story as well? Yes. After Mr. Trump announced his candidacy for presidency, did he ever say anything to you that indicated he was concerned about Melania Trump or Ivanka Trump, what they would think about the affairs? No. How did you leave when you left Trump Tower that day? How did you leave it with Mr. Trump? At the end of the meeting, Mr. Trump invited me. He called Rona and asked her to call me and send me an invitation to the inauguration event. And then I asked him, I said, look, how do we communicate between each other? So he said that he was going to get a cell phone and a cell number that he could give his friends and that we could use that cell number, which never transpired. And that was pretty much how we left it. And you said he invited you to the inauguration? Yes. Did you go? No, I didn't go. Why not? I didn't. I asked my wife and she didn't want to go. She just didn't want to attend. And I decided that I decided not to attend. Is this a good time for a break? Sure, Judge. Jurors, I'll remind you about the admonitions. Please do not talk either among yourself or with anyone else or anything related to the case. Please continue to keep an open mind. Do not form or express an opinion about the defendant's guilt or innocence until after all the evidence is in. I have given you my final instructions on the law and have directed you to begin your deliberations. Please do not request, accept, agree to accept, or discuss with any person any receipt or benefit in return for any information concerning the trial. Report directly to me any incident within your knowledge involving an attempt by any person to improperly influence you or any member of the jury. Do not visit or view any of the locations discussed in the testimony. Do not use any program or electronic devices to view any place discussed in the testimony. Do not view or read or listen to any account of the case. That would include the reading or listening to any reading of any transcripts of the trial or the reading of any posts on the court sites. Do not attempt to research any fact, issue, or law related to the case. Do not communicate about the case by any means, including by telephone, text message, or the internet. Do not look for any information about the law involved in the case or the people involved in the case. I would like to start again at 2:15. Enjoy your lunch. All rise, whereupon the jurors and the alternate jurors were excused. Please be seated. Thank you, sir. You can step down. As we break for lunch recess, ask you to please give yourselves enough time so we can actually start at 2:15. Thank you. Whereupon a luncheon recess was taken. So there we have, the lunch break, everyone. All right, and that has completed my hour of reading. Again, I'm doing these transcripts just at an hour at a time because that is pretty much all my voice can handle at this point. So there we have it. There we have it at this point. Oh, I know, Lisa. I know, lunch is very important, everyone. So let me give you a little overview of what we've got left. So I'm able to read through about 150 pages per hour on these lives. So just today, I've read 300 pages. So that's a lot for today. I've got, I would say, one more batch of direct. This is all the direct still before we get to the cross-examination. But this is all that's left of Mr. Pecker's testimony. So this is going to take 2 more lives in order to get through it. Now, once we finish up with Mr. Pecker's testimony, then we can start moving into some of the others. Are they sequestered? So the sequestering is just what the judge had said there. They're not allowed to speak to other people. They're not allowed to discuss any of the information about the case. So that is the sequestering. When people ask me about the sequestering, I keep wondering, like, are you saying, are they only allowed to be in one particular room? Are they protected? And I would say yes, but we do that for all of our juries. Are they allowed to go home at the end of the night? Yes, they are. So I'm not sure exactly what you mean by sequestered. They are definitely apart from others and not allowed to speak to anyone else or see or hear anything about the case. So that's kind of how that breaks down. So yeah, they're definitely being carefully monitored regarding that. I wanted to get one more page out here. I do have May. I'm not sure exactly where I put it, come to think of it. So with that, I do have transcripts for Miss Graff. Her testimony is very, very short. I just have a couple of chunks I'll probably read. I probably won't read her full testimony. Again, I'm reading through Mr. Pecker's for full testimony because it's so important to the case. Mr. Farrow is the banker. He testified on the 8th and on the 9th, and so we had just a couple days of his testimony, which, he did a pretty good job with his testimony, but it wasn't anything that was overwhelming, I think. So I just have a couple pieces I'll discuss there. But then, everyone, the next big piece, the next big set of reading for the transcripts will be Mr. Davidson. Mr. Davidson had a lot of testimony. We had Mr. Davidson yesterday, and then we had Miss Hope Hicks today. So between Davidson and Hicks, that's going to really take a lot of the time. So I really want to take my time finishing up with Mr. Pecker. We'll kind of skim through the testimony of the other witnesses, and then we'll get into Davidson, and then we'll get into Miss Hicks as well. So that's my plan. My plan is to just keep kind of plugging away at these transcripts, everyone, as best as I can. Listen to you for hours. Oh, you're so sweet. So I am posting my lives on my Tube of You. I'm a couple of days behind. So I think right now I've posted the Sandoval hearing transcripts reading, the opening statements transcripts, the contempt hearing, I think, but I'm almost there. So I'm trying to get to a point where I can get in start Mr. Pecker's transcripts as well, because I've done so many lives on it. But these should be up pretty quick. I'm posting my transcripts ones sooner than my other ones, so like the Arizona and various other things may be posted later. But they should be up. I'll be posting once a day starting today. I'll be posting every day on my Tube of You to catch up because I am doing so many lives. So those should be going up pretty soon. So if you want to catch up on what I've been talking about previously, I've got those already posted so far. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are posted. As of today, I think number 5 was posted. So those lives are all posted at this point. So I will continue to post. I had 2 lives today, so I'll post one probably about every 12 hours. I don't want to post more than one every 12 hours, but I'll get these posted. But that's going to have to be my max for today. Now, depending on how things go, everyone, I'm hoping to be able to come back on tomorrow, probably around noon, and I'll probably be able to get one more reading done tomorrow. So, but it'll probably be around lunchtime. I'll make sure to do a post in the morning to give you a little bit of notice if I'll be able to go on. But hoping to do one at noon tomorrow. And then, of course, I've got my sub chat on Sunday, which I will be doing as well. I'm really trying to kind of baby my voice here. So I'm just doing, again, just doing that 1 hour at a time. So hopefully everyone, rather than doing the longer lives, I'm doing them shorter and then just taking a lot of breaks. But we made it through 300 pages of transcripts today, everyone. Yay! So that was good. That was pretty good. You're one of the, oh, thank you so much, Dina. Oh, that's so sweet of you to say. That's so sweet. It's so interesting. It's a great, interesting story. Not a story I'd read to my children, but, interesting nevertheless. So I will be back up hopefully again at noon tomorrow. Watch for my post in the morning, everyone. And I'll just continue to get through this. I'm just going to keep posting until I finish up Mr. Pecker's testimony, and then I'll kind of reassess at that point. So with that, I will go ahead and sign off for tonight, everyone. Thank you again for coming and hanging out. Thanks. Good to see you, Suze. Good to see everybody. I will go and rest for the evening, but have a wonderful night. Oh, Cecilia, of course. I'm glad you could come by and hang out. It's very interesting, everyone. So hopefully I'll be able to come back tomorrow at noon. I'll check my voice when I get up in the morning, and I'll make sure to do a post. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow or Sunday at the latest. Have a great night.